All right, so get this. Steve Bannon is out of prison.
Oh, wow.
And just in time for the election.
Yeah.
We're going to need all the help we can get with this deep dive into what this really means.
Right.
You sent over a ton of news articles, each with their own take. I see the New York Times, Fox News, even a couple of political blogs in the mix.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So strap in, because we're about to unpack Bannon's past, why he was locked up, and what his release might mean for the upcoming election.
Okay.
This would get interesting.
Definitely a timely event for sure.
Okay, so for those who might not be glued to the political scene 24/7,
Right.
let's start with the basics.
Yeah.
Who is Steve Bannon?
That's
So
it.
why should we care that he's a free man?
Steve Bannon's been a lot of things.
Okay.
A former investment banker, even a filmmaker for a while.
Wow.
But he's most known for his political work.
Right.
He was a key advisor to Donald Trump, especially during the 2016 campaign. And
Yep.
big name in the conservative media world. He's definitely got a knack for grabbing attention, but his views also make him a pretty controversial figure.
Yeah, and it's not like he was in for a parking ticket, right?
I know.
This was contempt of Congress, which sounds serious.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Basically, the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol wanted to hear from Bannon.
Right.
They issued a subpoena, a legal order to appear and give testimony.
Gotcha.
Bannon refused, and the courts found him guilty
Yeah.
on 2 counts of contempt of Congress,
To count.
landing him a 4-month sentence.
So he basically told Congress to get lost.
Pretty much.
That takes guts,
Yeah.
or maybe just a healthy dose of defiance.
Yeah.
What's Bannon saying about all this now that he's out?
Well, defiant is definitely the word.
Oh,
In fact, he's calling himself a political prisoner
wow.
of the Biden administration, specifically naming Nancy Pelosi and Merrick Garland alongside the president.
Really?
And get this, he actually said, the 4 months in federal prison not only didn't break me, it empowered me.
Okay, so the guy's not backing down.
No.
And he's not exactly easing back into things either.
Nope.
He's going straight back to his War Room podcast, planning a press conference, and continuing to support Trump's campaign.
It sounds like he's ready to jump right back in.
Yeah, sounds like he's picking up right where he left off.
Yeah.
That's what makes this so interesting, right?
Yeah.
Will he still have the same pull?
Right.
Can he jump back into the political fray and make a difference so close to the election?
That is the big question.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
But wait,
What's that?
didn't his podcast lose a ton of steam while he was away?
Oh, yeah.
It's not like he was broadcasting from his cell.
Right. You're right. His absence definitely had an impact.
Yeah.
War Room was a regular in Apple's top podcasts before Bannon went to prison.
Okay.
But according to data from Podchaser,
Mm-hmm.
it tumbled down the rankings while he was gone.
Oh, wow.
His team tried to keep it going with guest hosts, even featuring Mike Lindell pushing his MyPillow deals,
Of course.
but it just couldn't hold its spot.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
So he's got some ground to make up if he wants to regain that audience.
right,
Makes you wonder what his strategy is.
for sure.
What's he been saying about this election?
Well, he's been echoing the claims of potential election theft and pushing the narrative that the 2020 election was stolen.
Oh, boy.
In fact, one quote that really stands out is, they're going to do everything to steal this election.
Wow.
It's crucial to remember, though, that these are just allegations, not proven facts.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
We're just laying out what's being said, not taking sides.
No, not at all.
But it does make you think about how much weight his words carry,
Yeah.
especially with people who already share those concerns. Speaking of Bannon's words, does he have other legal issues to worry about besides this contempt case?
He does.
I feel like I heard something about that.
There's a separate case in New York State, completely unrelated to the January 6th situation. He's facing charges of money laundering, fraud, and conspiracy
Wow.
tied to a fundraising campaign for building a wall on the U.S.-Mexico border.
Hold on. Wasn't that a big Trump campaign promise?
It was.
Okay.
And Bannon was involved in a private effort to raise funds for that wall.
Gotcha.
But now prosecutors are alleging that he and his associates took some of those donations for personal use.
Wow. So they're saying he basically swindled people who donated to build the wall.
Yeah, essentially.
And he's pleaded not guilty.
Exactly.
Wow.
That trial is scheduled for December, just a month after the election.
Talk about adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
So even with the contempt case behind him, Bannon's still got this legal battle looming.
Right?
It makes you wonder how that impacts everything else he's trying to do.
It's a huge question mark, for sure.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's trying to play two games at once.
Okay.
One in the political arena and another in the courtroom.
Right.
And how those two play out could have major consequences.
It's wild.
It is.
You've got this guy who is just in prison. Now he's backfiring on all cylinders,
Right.
trying to rebuild his podcast, actively supporting Trump,
Right.
and facing a whole new trial.
It's a lot.
What stands out to you in all of this? What's got you scratching your head?
To me, the biggest question is, can Bannon actually regain his influence and have a real impact on this election?
Right.
He's certainly trying to.
Yeah.
But with all these factors at play, it's hard to say how it'll shake out.
I hear you. It's like watching a political thriller unfold in real time.
It really is.
To really grasp what's going on here, we need to dig a little deeper
Okay.
into Bannon's history and his approach to politics.
Absolutely.
All right, buckle up, everyone, because things are about to get even more interesting.
Oh, boy.
We'll be back in a flash to dive deeper into the world of Steve Bannon.
Sounds good. What's fascinating about Bannon is that he didn't start out in politics. Like, before he became a political operative, he had this whole other life: investment banking, filmmaking,
Oh, wow.
even running a gaming company in Hong Kong.
Really?
He's got a pretty diverse background.
It's almost like he walked out of a political thriller.
Haha. Yeah.
The guy with a shadowy past and connections everywhere.
Exactly. And I think that background plays a part in his appeal.
How so?
Well, he's able to connect with people who feel like the system is rigged against them, people who distrust the establishment.
Right.
He comes across as someone who's been there, done that,
Yeah.
and isn't afraid to play by his own rules.
So let's talk about how he actually does politics.
Okay.
What's his playbook?
Well,
How does he influence people and shape the conversation?
his War Room podcast is a big part of it.
Right.
He sees it as a direct line to his audience,
Okay.
a way to get his message out without going through traditional media filters.
Gotcha. So kind of circumventing the gatekeepers.
Exactly.
And he's a master of framing narratives.
Using rhetoric that taps into people's emotions and grievances.
And we know it had a pretty sizable following before he went to prison.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff was he focusing on back then?
He would frequently promote conspiracy theories,
Like what?
especially those surrounding the 2020 election.
Ah.
He'd often target political opponents with personal attacks and really inflammatory language.
Wow. So not exactly pulling any punches.
No, not at all.
Okay.
His show became a hub for election denialism and other fringe viewpoints.
So it sounds like he's appealing to people's fears and anxieties, offering them a simple explanation, maybe even a scapegoat to blame for their problems.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
He takes complex issues and boils them down to simple narratives,
Okay.
often reinforcing pre-existing biases.
Gotcha.
It creates this sense of solidarity among his listeners.
Okay.
Like they're all in the know fighting against a common enemy.
And from what we've seen since his release, it doesn't seem like prison changed his approach. If anything, he might be doubling down.
It does appear that way.
Yeah.
His recent statements suggest he's even more convinced of his own righteousness.
Really?
He sees himself as a martyr, someone who was unjustly punished for speaking truth to power.
And that narrative could be really powerful,
It could.
especially when it comes to spreading his message,
Right.
even if it's divisive or potentially harmful.
Exactly.
It's a bit unsettling, honestly, thinking about the impact someone like that could have,
Yeah.
especially with the election so close.
It is his ability to mobilize people
Right.
who already distrust institutions, and mainstream media could have a real impact on voter turnout.
Yeah.
Maybe even sway the results.
Okay, so let's bring it back to the average voter.
Okay.
Why should they care about Steve Bannon's return?
Well,
What's the takeaway here?
voters need to be aware of the influence figures like Bannon can wield. It's crucial to be critical of the information you're consuming
Right.
and recognize when someone is trying to manipulate you, even if it's appealing to your fears or beliefs.
It's like a reminder to check your sources right.
Exactly.
Don't just take everything at face value, especially in this day and age where misinformation spreads like wildfire.
It's so important. And
Yeah.
it's not just about being aware of Bannon's tactics.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the bigger picture.
What do you mean?
Well, he's a symptom of this deeper political divide we're facing.
Interesting.
He represents a segment of the population that feels abandoned by the system left behind.
So Bannon's resurgence isn't just about him.
Okay.
It's a reflection of something bigger, something we need to address as a society.
Precisely.
Wow.
By understanding the factors that have contributed to Bannon's rise,
Good.
we can start having a more productive conversation about how to bridge the political divide
Right.
and find common ground.
That makes sense.
It's not about demonizing one person or group. It's about tackling the root causes of our polarization.
That's a really powerful way to look at it.
Yeah.
It shifts the focus from the individual to the systemic issues that have allowed someone like Bannon to gain a platform.
Right.
But let's be real. We can't ignore the elephant in the room.
What's that?
Bannon's got these serious legal charges hanging over his head.
Oh, yeah.
That's got to factor into everything else he's doing.
And it absolutely does. Those charges are serious and could have huge consequences for his future, regardless of what happens with the election. We need to look at the specifics of these cases and how they might impact his ability to participate in the political arena.
Right. Let's unpack those legal troubles a bit further.
Right.
We know he already served time for contempt of Congress.
Yeah.
But he's got that separate case in New York related to border wall fundraising. What exactly is he accused of doing there?
So this New York case involves charges of money laundering, fraud, and conspiracy.
Okay.
It stems from a crowdfunding campaign that raised millions of dollars to build a wall on the U.S.-Mexico border.
Wait, wasn't that one of Trump's big campaign promises?
It was, and Bannon was involved in this private effort to raise funds for the wall.
Okay.
Prosecutors are claiming that he and others involved in the campaign misused those funds,
How so?
taking some for their own personal use.
So they're saying he basically scammed people who donated to this cause.
Essentially, yes.
Wow.
The indictment alleges that Bannon and his associates pocketed hundreds of thousands of dollars from the donations, even though they promised that all the money would go towards building the wall.
That's pretty messed up if it's true.
Yeah.
And this trial is happening soon, right?
Yes, it's scheduled to begin in December.
Okay.
If Bannon is found guilty, he could be looking at a significant amount of prison time.
So even though he's out now, there's a real chance he could end up right back behind bars.
Exactly. And that possibility adds another layer of complexity to everything he's doing right now.
Right.
Does it change his motivations? Is he truly focused on influencing the election, or is this all just a distraction from his legal problems?
It's like he's playing this high-stakes game of chess, trying to make moves on the political board while simultaneously fighting off legal threats.
It's a fascinating and potentially dangerous game.
And it's a game with real-world consequences.
Right.
Not just for Bannon, but for the entire country.
For sure.
His actions and rhetoric could have a ripple effect on our political discourse and potentially even our democracy.
That's a crucial point. Bannon's case highlights the importance of holding individuals accountable for their actions, regardless of their political leanings or positions of power.
And it underscores the need for voters to be informed and engaged, to think critically about the information they're consuming, and to make their voices heard at the ballot box.
Absolutely. In an age of rampant misinformation and increasing political polarization, it's more important than ever for citizens to be active participants in our democracy.
Well said. But we've been focusing so much on Bannon and his tactics. We haven't really explored the other side of the coin. The people who actually support him. Who are they?
That's a great question.
And why are they drawn to his message?
It's crucial to understand the motivations and beliefs of those who find Bannon's rhetoric appealing. Without that understanding, we can't hope to address the root causes of our political divisions.
We need to move beyond just labeling Bannon's supporters as extremists or deplorables. We need to engage with their concerns and try to understand why they feel so disillusioned with the current political system. What makes them tick? What are their fears and aspirations?
And that requires listening with empathy and a willingness to see the world from their perspective, even if we disagree with their conclusions.
I think that's a great transition into our final segment, where we'll explore the broader implications of Bannon's release and what it says about the state of our political discourse.
Sounds good.
We'll delve into who makes up his base and why they find his message so compelling.
It's easy to kind of just lump all of Bannon's supporters together.
But
when you really dig into it, you see they're not a monolithic group. It's a diverse mix of people. But there are some common threads that tie them together.
Like what? What kind of person is drawn to Bannon's message?
Well, one thing a lot of them have in common
Right.
is a deep distrust of mainstream media and institutions.
Right.
They feel like their voices aren't being heard, like the system is rigged against them.
And Bannon steps in, offering them an alternative.
Exactly.
Someone who claims to understand their frustrations and is willing to fight for them.
He positions himself as the ultimate outsider, the champion of the forgotten man. He rails against the elites, promises to shake things up,
Right.
and people who feel ignored or left behind by the system
Yeah.
find that message incredibly appealing.
It's like he's giving them a sense of belonging, a community of people who share their grievances and anxieties.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
He creates this us versus them dynamic
Right.
that resonates with people who feel like they're losing their grip on their country, their culture, their way of life. And his time in prison,
Right.
which he paints as a politically motivated attack,
Yeah.
only reinforces that narrative.
He becomes a martyr,
Yeah.
a symbol of resistance
Yes.
against the forces they see as threatening their values.
Right.
But it can't just be about anger and resentment, right?
Right.
There has to be something more,
Yeah.
some deeper beliefs that draw them to him.
Absolutely. A lot of his supporters are driven by a strong sense of nationalism.
Okay.
They see America as exceptional,
Yeah.
and they feel like that exceptionalism is under threat.
Threatened by what?
By a lot of things, depending on who you ask.
Cook.
Globalization, immigration, social change, the erosion of traditional values.
Right.
They see Bannon as someone who understands those threats and is willing to fight to protect what they see as the true America.
So it's this mix of economic anxiety, cultural anxiety,
Yeah.
and a longing for a simpler time when things felt more secure, more certain.
That's a really good way to put it. And it's important to remember that these feelings aren't exclusive to Bannon's supporters.
Right.
There are a lot of people across the political spectrum who feel left behind, ignored by the powers that be.
Which brings us back to the bigger picture. Steve Bannon is just one piece of a much larger puzzle.
Right.
His release, his legal battles, his rhetoric.
Yeah.
It's all a symptom of this deep polarization that's tearing our society apart.
Exactly. Bannon is a polarizing figure, but he didn't create these divisions. He's tapping into them, exploiting them for his own gain.
Right.
But to truly address the problem,
Yeah.
we need to look beyond Bannon and understand the underlying issues that have created such fertile ground for his message to take root.
So what can we do? How do we start bridging these divides and finding common ground when it feels like we're drifting further and further apart?
It's a tough question,
Yeah.
and there's no easy answer.
Right.
But I think it starts with listening to each other,
Okay.
trying to understand where the other side is coming from, even if we disagree with their conclusions.
It's about having those difficult conversations.
Yes.
Resisting the urge to demonize or dismiss those who hold different views.
Exactly. We need to recognize that we all share common goals, even if we have different ideas about how to achieve them.
Right.
And maybe, just maybe, by
Yeah.
focusing on those shared goals and engaging in respectful dialogue,
Right.
we can start to rebuild trust and find a way forward together.
That's a hopeful thought,
It is.
and one I think we need to hold on to,
Yeah,
especially in these times.
for sure.
This whole Steve Bannon situation has been a wild ride,
It has.
and it's not over yet.
Nope.
It highlights the fragility of our democracy and the challenges we face in maintaining a healthy and productive political discourse.
It's a reminder that we all have a role to play in shaping the future of our country. Staying informed, engaging in respectful debate, holding our leaders accountable,
Right.
and exercising our right to vote. These are all crucial steps in protecting and strengthening our democracy.
Well said.
Yeah.
And with that, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
It's been a long one, but hopefully it's giving you some food for thought and a deeper understanding of this complex political landscape.
If there's one thing I hope listeners take away from this,
Yeah.
it's the importance of critical thinking and engagement.
Right.
Don't just accept what you hear at face value, no matter who's saying it. Do your own research. Listen to different perspectives.
Right.
And form your own conclusions.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Steve Bannon.
It was a pleasure.
Until next time,
Good.
stay curious, stay informed, and keep diving deep.